यस्य च समन्वयेन योज्यमाना दिनद्वयात्मिकाया राष्ट्रीयसङ्गोष्ठ्याः द्वितीयतमसत्रे भवतां हार्दं स्वागतम्। गोष्ठ्याः शीर्षकं Symbiosis in Sanskrit न्यू पर्स्पेक्टिव् इति। एतदन्तर्गतत्वेन प्रथमं सत्रं सम्पन्नं, द्वितीयं सत्रं प्रथमं तावत् आर्टिफिशियल् इंटेलिजेंस एंड संस्कृत शीर्षकान्तर्गतत्वेन व्याख्यानत्रयं सम्पत्स्यते। तत्र NEP 2020 and Tools for NEP National Education Policy विषयद्वयमुपलक्ष्य प्रति व्याख्यानं चलिष्यति। प्रथमं तावत् NEP 2020 and विषयमुपलक्ष्य अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालयस्य साहित्यविभागस्य आचार्याः भवन्ति। प्राच्य पाश्चात्य विद्या विशारदाः आचार्याः श्री शंकर महाभागाः, तान् अहं प्रति अनुरुन्धे NEP 2020 विषयान्तर्गतत्वेन पाठ्यक्रमं NEP अनुसारं भवेत् विषयमुपलक्ष्य मार्गदर्शनं करिष्यन्ति। I would like to invite to give समुपस्थितानां समेषामपि द्वितीयदिवसे स्वागतम्।
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां नमः सभायै सभापतिभ्यश्च। वस्तुतः दिनद्वयात् प्रागेव अहं सूचितः अस्मिन् विषये पत्रमेकं प्रस्तुवन्तु इति। अतः यथाशक्ति यथासमयं च मया किञ्चिदिव निर्मितं, यथासमयं भवन्तः अनुगृह्णन्तु इति प्रार्थये। वस्तुतः राष्ट्रियशिक्षानीतिः इति या नीतिः अस्माकं सर्वकारेण उद्घोषिता भवति, सा च नीतिः 2010 मध्ये एव अस्माकं राष्ट्रियसंस्कृतविद्यापीठे एव प्रतिपालिता, नाम पूर्वमेव प्रतिपालिता एवं प्रचालिता इति मया सुदृढं वक्तुं शक्यते। यतः राष्ट्रियशिक्षानीतौ ये अंशाः भवन्ति ते एव अंशाः अस्माकं पाठ्यक्रमे अपि पूर्वमेव योजिताः इति अस्माभिः द्रष्टुं शक्यते। यतः इदानीं तावत् तस्य डिसिप्लिनरी स्पेसिफिक कोर इति डिसिप्लिनरी स्पेसिफिक एलेक्टिव इति नाम्ना यद्यद् व्यवह्रियते तत्सर्वं प्रागेव हार्ड कोर सॉफ्ट कोर एलेक्टिव इति नाम्ना पूर्वमेव प्रचलितमासीत्। नाम दीर्घदर्शिभिः तदानीन्तन विद्वद्भिस्तावत् एवं भवितेति पूर्वमेव निश्चित्य तैः पूर्वमेव आरब्धं भवति। वस्तुतः इदानीम् अस्माभिः केवलं नामान्तरीकरणं कृतं, न तु नूतनतया आरब्धम् इति सगर्वं वक्तुमहम् ईहे। वस्तुतः अस्माकं पूर्वमेव एते अंशाः अभूवन्, इदानीं तांश्च अंशान् दृष्ट्वा अग्रे एव वयं सरामः। वस्तुतः राष्ट्रियशिक्षानीतेः स्तम्भचतुष्टयम् इति वक्तुं शक्यते। वस्तुतः राष्ट्रियशिक्षानीतौ तृतीयस्य नाम विभागत्रयस्य तावत् कथं वा तत्र कार्यक्रमाः पाठ्यक्रमाश्च निर्मातव्याः इति अस्मिन् विषये चर्चा विहिता भवति। वस्तुतः अस्माकं स्कूल् मध्ये नाम विद्यालयेषु शिक्षा कथं भवेदिति, एवञ्च अग्रे उच्चतर विद्यालयेषु नाम महाविद्यालयेषु एवञ्च विश्वविद्यालयेषु च कथं वा पाठ्यक्रमः भवेदिति द्वितीयः विषयः। एवञ्च अध्यापकानाम् अध्यापनेषु नाम शिक्षाशास्त्रे इति इदानीं यत् प्रथते तादृशस्य शिक्षणशास्त्रस्य विषये तावत् कथं कर्तव्यमिति त्रिधा विभक्तं भवति। तत्रापि विशिष्य संस्कृतस्य विभागद्वये अपि नाम उच्चतर शिक्षणविषये तावत् विश्वविद्यालयेषु महाविद्यालयेषु एवं अध्यापकविद्यालयेषु च नाम B.Ed इति व्यवह्रियमाणे तावत् कथं वा कर्तव्यम् इत्यत्र स्तम्भचतुष्टयम् उच्चतरविद्यालयेषु निर्दिष्टमस्ति। प्रथमं तावत् फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, लर्नर सेंट्रिक एवं मल्टिपल एंट्री, मल्टिपल एग्जिट, मल्टीडिस्प्लिनारिटी इति एतत् चतुष्टयमेव स्तम्भचतुष्टयायते इति सुदृढं वक्तुं शक्यते। तत्र फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी नाम अस्माभिः इष्टानां विषयाणां चयनं तावत् छात्रेभ्यः भवतु, छात्रेभ्यः दीयताम् इति एतद् मनसि कृत्य वस्तुतः पूर्वस्मिन् काले गुरुकुले वा अन्यत्र वा प्रधानं शास्त्रं पाठ्यते, तत् परिकरत्वेन अन्यानि शास्त्राणि पाठ्यन्ते इत्येव तत्र एतावता अस्माभिः दृष्टमस्ति। इदानीं तावत् ते यद्यद् इच्छन्ति तत्सर्वं कालानुगुणं तेषाम् उद्योगानुगुणं च भूयादिति कृत्वा फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी इति नाम्ना तेषाम् इष्टानुगुणतया तेषाम् इष्टानुकूलं तावत् पाठ्यक्रमस्य चयनं कर्तुं शक्यते इति अयं विषयः प्रधानविषयः भवति। एवञ्च लर्नर सेंट्रिक इति ये शिष्याः भवन्ति, यैः ज्ञातव्यं भवति तानेव केन्द्रीकृत्य विषयाः दातव्याः इति द्वितीयविषयः। तृतीयं तावत् मल्टिपल एंट्री, मल्टिपल एग्जिट इति कृत्वा वस्तुतः केचन जनाः मध्ये एव त्यक्त्वा पलायन्ते। तेषां कृतेपि तेषां विरामकाले एव तदुचितं किञ्चित् प्रमाणपत्रं देयमिति कृत्वा तत्र प्रथमवर्षस्य अन्ते इदम् एवं द्वितीयवर्षस्य एवं तृतीयवर्षस्य एवं चतुर्थवर्षस्य इति स्नातककक्ष्यायां स्नातकोत्तरकक्ष्यायां च एकसंवत्सरेण इति कृत्वा विविधाः परिपाट्यः तत्र निर्मिताः भवन्ति इति अयं विषयः। एवं चतुर्थस्तम्भः भवति प्रायशः विविधेषु विषयेषु ज्ञानं भूयादिति। नाम पूर्वमपि तादृशमेव ज्ञानम् आसीत्। यथा वेदान्तं कश्चित् अधीते तर्हि परिकरत्वेन तस्य न्याये मीमांसायां गतिरासीत् इति तत् परिकरशास्त्रत्वेन सर्वेष्वपि एवञ्च तत्र परम्परया साहित्येपि गतिः, यतः भाषावगमाय इति सर्वेष्वपि विषयेषु मल्टीडिस्प्लिनारिटी इति सर्वत्रापि आसीदेव। अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालये अपि आसीत्। उद्योग अनुगुणं तावत् तत्र तेषां कथं वा उद्योगप्राप्तिर्भूयादिति एतन्मनसि निधाय तदनुकूलतया नूतनविषयेष्वपि तेषां प्रवेशः भवतु इति इयं परिपाटी अयं कल्पस्तावत् प्रकल्पितो भवति। इयमपि परिपाटी पूर्वमेव अत्र विश्वविद्यालये चलत्येव 2010 आरभ्य कंप्यूटर साइंस इत्यादिषु विषयेषु एवं अन्येष्वपि नूतनविषयेष्वपि गतिः भूयादिति मनसि विचिन्त्य पूर्वमेव कृतमस्ति। यथा मया पूर्वमेव सूचितं तद्वत् इयं परिपाटी नूतना न विश्वविद्यालयस्य, अपि च पूर्वमेव तदानीन्तनविद्वद्भिः उपकल्पिता भवति। इदानीं तावत् नामान्तरेण व्यवहारः सम्पन्नः इत्येव। अतः वस्तुतः अस्मिन् देशे संस्कृतविश्वविद्यालयेषु राष्ट्रीयसंस्कृतनीतेः तावत् परिपालनं प्रप्रथमतया तिरुपतिस्थ राष्ट्रीयसंस्कृतविश्वविद्यालये एव जातम् इति गौरवस्य विषयः। एवञ्च ततः पूर्वमेव तस्य परिपाटी आसीत् इत्यपि अस्माभिः द्रष्टुं शक्यते। 2010 आरभ्य इयमेव परिपाटी नाम अयमेव पाठ्यक्रमः पूर्वैः उपात्तः भवति। तत्रैव नामान्तरकरणेन वस्तुतः NEP मध्ये यदुक्तं भवति तत् पूर्वं परिपालितम्, इदानीं च तद् योजितम् इति अस्माभिः द्रष्टुं शक्यते। एवञ्च तत्र मेजर पॉइंट्स moving towards a higher educational system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities इति प्रथमम् अस्ति। वस्तुतः नूतनेषु विषयेषु प्राचीनेषु विषयेषु च सर्वेषामपि तत्र आसक्तिर्भूयात् एवं गतिरपि भूयात् इति मनसि कृत्यैव इदं तावत् निर्मितं भवति। एवं मूविंग टुवर्ड्स ए मोर मल्टीडिस्प्लिनरी अंडर ग्रेजुएट एजुकेशन इत्यत्रापि पूर्वं यदुक्तं तदेव। मूविंग टुवर्ड्स फैकल्टी एंड इंस्टिट्यूशनल अटानमी इति विश्व नाम महाविद्यालयानां विषये रिवैम्पिंग करिकुलम पेडगोगी असेसमेंट एंड स्टूडेंट सपोर्ट फॉर एनहांस्ड स्टूडेंट एक्सपीरियंस इति कृत्वा लर्नर सेंट्रिक इति स्तम्भः यः दृष्टः तस्यैव विवरणम् अत्र भवति। एवञ्च यूजी पीजी स्नातककक्षा एवं स्नातकोत्तरकक्षायां तावत् तत्र विद्यमानानां विषयाणां तावत् इयं परिपाटी भूयात्, नाम अयं क्रमः भूयादिति NEP द्वारा अस्माभिः ज्ञायते। मया पूर्वमेव उक्तं भवति, अयमेव विषयः पूर्वमेव उपात्तः भवति अस्मिन् विश्वविद्यालये इति। तस्य नामान्तरं तावत् अत्र द्रष्टुं शक्यते, डिसिप्लिन् स्पेसिफिक् कोर् इति नाम्ना। पूर्वं हार्ड् कोर् इति नाम्ना यद् व्यवहृतमासीत् तदेव अनेन नाम्ना व्यवह्रियते। डिसिप्लिन् स्पेसिफिक् एलेक्टिव् इति नाम्ना पूर्वम् इंटर्डिसिप्लिनरी इति नाम्ना वा अन्यथा परिकरशास्त्रत्वेन यत् प्रथितमासीत् तदेव अनेन नाम्ना व्यवह्रियते। एवञ्च जनरल् एलेक्टिव् इति नाम्ना तेषाम् इच्छानुगुणं चीयमानानां विषयाणां तावत् तत्र क्रमः। एवम् एबिलिटी एन्हान्स्मेण्ट् कोर्सस् इति द्विधा विभक्तं भवति। एबिलिटी एन्हान्स्मेण्ट् कम्पल्सरी कोर्सस् इति, एवञ्च स्किल् एन्हान्स्मेण्ट् कोर्सस् इति द्विधा विभक्तं भवति, यत्र भाषाः एवं नूतनाः विषयाश्च अन्तर्भवन्ति। अत्र तावत् एवं चतुर्धा, नाम मुख्यतया तावत् चतुर्धा विभक्तुं शक्यते। तत्र प्रथमांशे तावत् संस्कृतस्य को वा लाभः इति चेत् अस्माकं मुख्यः यः विषयः भवति सः तावत् कोर् इति पूर्वं येन शब्देन कोर् इति शब्देन व्यवह्रियमाणं शास्त्रं तावत् मुख्यशास्त्रम् इदानीं डिसिप्लिन् स्पेसिफिक् कोर् इति नाम्ना व्यवह्रियते। वस्तुतः संस्कृतस्यापि अत्र महती गतिरस्ति इति अस्माभिः वक्तुं शक्यते। यत्किमपि वा शास्त्रं भवतु तस्य मूलांशः, मूलशास्त्रस्य विषयाः तावत् अनेन शब्देन व्यवह्रियन्ते। पूर्वमपि इयं परिपाटी आसीत्। एवञ्च तद् रेलेवेण्ट् सब्जेक्ट् इति यदुच्यते तत् डिसिप्लिनरी स्पेसिफिक् एलेक्टिव् इति नाम्ना इदानीं व्यवह्रियते। परिकरशास्त्रमिति प्राक् यदासीत् तस्यैव इदानीं नामान्तरं भवति। वस्तुतः यस्य कस्यापि शास्त्रस्य यत्किमपि वा शास्त्रं परिकररूपेण भवितुम् अर्हति इति एवं नास्ति। वस्तुतः अस्माभिः अत्र रेस्ट्रिक्शन् कर्तव्यं भवति। इदानीम् अस्माभिः ईषत् कृतं च। वस्तुतः वेदान्ती कश्चित् साहित्यमेव बहु स्वीकरोति चेत् महते लाभाय न कल्पते इति कृत्वा तत्र रेलेवेण्ट् फील्ड् मध्ये एव भूयादिति विचिन्त्य तदर्थमेव अत्र ईषत् रेस्ट्रिक्शन्, नाम एतानि शास्त्राणि परिकररूपेण एतेषाम् अंशानां भूयादिति कृत्वा एवं रूपेण अस्माभिः उपकल्पितं भवति। यथा वेदान्तस्य अन्यत् वेदान्तस्य विभागान्तरम् एवञ्च न्यायादिशास्त्राणि इति, एवं साहित्यस्य तावत् व्याकरणमिति, व्याकरणस्य प्रथमं तावत् साहित्यमिति, एवं रूपेण अत्र DSE कोर्सस् अस्माभिः निर्दिष्टमस्ति। एवञ्च जनरल एलेक्टिव मध्ये तावत् भाषाणाम् एवं नूतनविषयाणां यद् अन्यत्र न सम्भवति तादृशविषयाणाम् अत्र स्वीकरणं भवेत् इति धिया इदं कृतं भवति। एवञ्च एबिलिटी एन्हान्स्मेण्ट् कोर्सस् मध्ये भाषाः एवं नूतन अंशाश्च, नाम कंप्यूटर् विषये एवं अन्येषु अपि विषयेषु यद् दातव्यं भवति उद्योगाय यदा अर्हतां सम्पादयति तादृशविषयास्तावत् अत्र प्रतिपादिताः भवन्ति। वस्तुतः संस्कृतस्यापि उद्योगितां वर्धयितुं तावत् अयं प्रयत्नः पूर्वमेव विहितः भवति, नामान्तरेण इदानीमपि उपात्तः भवति। इदानीं तावत् चाइसेस् ऑफ कोर्सेस् मध्ये ट्रेडिशनल कोर्स सर्वं कोर् इति नाम्ना व्यवह्रियते। एवं मॉडर्न कोर्सेस् यद्यद् भवति तत्सर्वं SEC इति नाम्ना वा, नाम स्किल् एन्हान्स्मेण्ट् कोर्सेस् इति वा, जनरल एलेक्टिव् मध्ये वा सर्वत्रापि सम्भवति इति। एवञ्च वस्तुतः IKS विषयोपि अत्र योजनीयः भवति, तदर्थमपि अत्र प्रयत्नः विहितः। प्राचीनशास्त्राणां, नाम प्रौद्योगिकशास्त्राणां, टेक्निकल साइंस इति यदुच्यते तादृशानां शास्त्राणामपि निवेशः अत्र भूयादिति तस्मिन्नपि विषये चर्चा विहिता। प्राचीनगणितशास्त्रस्य, प्राचीन बाटनी इत्यादि, नाम वृक्षायुर्वेदस्य, एवं पशुशास्त्रस्य, जीवशास्त्रस्य, एवं बहूनां शास्त्राणां, नाम मुख्यशास्त्रस्य परिकरशास्त्राणि तद् इतरशास्त्राणि प्रौद्योगिकानि प्राचीनानि यानि अभूवन् तादृशानामपि शास्त्राणाम् अत्र निवेशः भूयादिति। एवं एतदपेक्षया नाम कलाः अपि अत्र योजनीयाः इति कृत्वा पर्फार्मिंग आर्ट्स् इति नाम्ना कलाः अपि अत्र योजिताः भवन्ति। एवञ्च ट्रेडिशनल कोर्सेस् मध्ये इंटरलिंक्ड शास्त्र, रेलेवेंट शास्त्र, शास्त्रस्तु कंपेर् इति त्रिधा विभक्तुं शक्यते। वस्तुतः तत्र मुख्यानि यानि शास्त्राणि भवन्ति तत् सम्बद्धानि शास्त्राणि, एवञ्च तेन साकम् अत्यन्तं सन्निहितानि शास्त्राणि, एवं तेन साकं तुलनां कर्तुं योग्यानि यानि शास्त्राणि भवन्ति इति त्रिधा विभज्य एवं शास्त्रप्रकारः निर्मितः अस्ति। एवं मॉडर्न मध्ये कंप्यूटिंग एवं फिलॉसफी एवम् एस्थेटिक्स् इति फिलासफी इति मॉडर्न फिलासफी यद्भवति पाश्चात्यानां तेन साकं तुलना भवेत् इति धिया एवं इदानीन्तनसाहित्ये पाश्चात्यसाहित्येन साकं तुलना भूयादिति कृत्वा तत्रापि साहित्यसौन्दर्ये तावत् विचारः भूयादिति कृत्वा तत्रापि एस्थेटिक्स् इति विषये एतत् सर्वं मॉडर्न कोर्सस् मध्ये अन्तर्भवितुं प्रभवति। एवञ्च IKS मध्ये एन्शियण्ट् प्रयोगास् नाम प्रौद्योगिकशास्त्राणि एवं मॉडर्न टच तेषामपि यथा वा नूतने गतिः भवेत् तादृशं नाम प्राचीनं बहु कदाचित् ऐतिह्यमपि भवेत् ऐतिह्यं सर्वं कालेन न सङ्गच्छति इति कृत्वा नूतनेषु विषयेषु यत् प्रयोक्तुं शक्यते तादृशाः विषयाः चेतव्याः इति कृत्वा गोमयाद्वृश्चिको जायते इत्यादि विषयाः ऐतिह्यभूताः भवन्ति तेषाम् अधुनातनशास्त्रे तावत् गतिः न भवेत् इति कृत्वा तादृशाः एव विषयाः उपात्तव्याः इति। एवञ्च एन्सैक्लोपीडियास् इति नाम्ना अस्माकं बृहत्संहिता एवं तावत् मानसोल्लासः इति नाम्ना बहूनि एतादृशपुस्तकानि विद्यन्ते यत्र बहुविधशाखाः स्पृष्टाः एवं विमृष्टाश्च भवन्ति। एवञ्च अस्माकं कलासु अपि प्राचीनकलाः तादृशकलानामपि इदानीन्तनविषये कथं वा सङ्गतिः भवेत् इति विचिन्त्य तावत् प्राचीनकलाः एवं नाट्यशास्त्रं भवति चेदपि इदानीं थियेट्रिकल् वर्क्स् मध्ये कथं वा तस्य सङ्गतिः भवेत् इति एवं कृत्वा नूतनविषयाणां यदि तत्र योजनं भवेत् तर्हि महते उपकाराय कल्पते एवम् औद्योगिकं च भवति इति कृत्वा एतादृशविषयाः चेतव्याः। एवञ्च तत्र गवेषणस्य तावत् प्राधान्यम् अवश्यं देयमिति धिया गवेषण अनुकूलं तावत् अस्माभिः करिकुलम् इति अस्माकं पाठ्यक्रमः निर्मेयः भवति इति कृत्वा तत्र मल्टीडिस्प्लिनरी भवेत् एवं तत्र क्रोनालजी भवेत् एवं सोशियल् इम्पाक्ट् भवेत् एवं टेक्स्चुवल् क्रिटिसिसम् इति एते विषयाः तत्र अवश्यं भवेत् इति कृत्वा वस्तुतः भारतीयगवेषणे ईषदिव न्यूनता दृश्यते यतः तत्र नाम पाश्चात्यगवेषणेषु या परम्परा विद्यते सा परम्परा अत्र नास्ति इति एका परम्परा वक्तुं शक्यते चेत् क्रोनालजी इंडालजी इति एतद्विषये दृष्ट्या यद् विद्यते तस्यैव वस्तुतः अत्र न्यूनता भवति इति अहं तर्कयामि। वस्तुतः पाश्चात्य गवेषणेषु तावत् कालक्रमः सम्यक्तया निर्धार्यते अनन्तरमेव विषये चर्चा भवति। अत्र विषयचर्चा अत्यन्तं गहना गभीरा च भवति किन्तु कालक्रमादिविषये वयं बहु न चर्चामः इति अस्माकं क्लेशः अस्ति। नाम कस्यचित् आचार्यस्य अन्यस्मिन् आचार्ये वा ग्रन्थे वा प्रभावः भवति इति वक्तव्यं चेत् उभयोरपि कालनिर्धारणं विना इदं न सम्भवति। नाम यः अर्वाचीनः भवति तस्य उपरि एव प्राचीनस्य प्रभावः इति लोकविदितोऽयं विषयः। कालक्रमे चर्चां विहाय यदि वयम् अस्य आचार्यस्य प्रभावः अत्र अस्य ग्रन्थस्य प्रभावः अत्र इति कालक्रमज्ञानं विना यदि वयं कथयामः तर्हि दोषाय सम्भवेत्। कदाचित् अयमेव प्राचीनः स्यात् अस्माभिः यः स्वीकृतः अस्य प्रभावः अत्र इति स एव अर्वाचीनः स्यात्। वस्तुतः इदानीं प्रच्छन्नबौद्धाः इति अद्वैतवेदान्तस्य उपरि यः आरोपः विद्यते तत्र कालक्रमेण कालक्रमस्य चर्चया तावत् इयं समस्या परिहर्तुं शक्यते। अस्माभिः दृश्यते बहु कालात् अद्वैतवेदान्तः जीवति इति तत्र तावत् पूर्वपक्षत्वेन बौद्धग्रन्थेषु कालात् दृश्यते। मध्यमनिकायः इति क्रिस्तोः प्राक् तृतीयशतके यः ग्रन्थः अस्ति तत्र अद्वैतवेदान्तस्य चर्चा भवति। तत्र औपनिषदः इति नाम्ना कश्चन अद्वैतवेदान्ती स्मृतः भवति तस्य वाक्यमपि तत्र उद्धृतं भवति। एवमेव बुद्धचरितम् इति द्वितीयशतके अश्वघोषस्य यत् महाकाव्यं भवति तत्र सर्गः एकः सम्पूर्णतः वेदान्तस्य कृते त्यक्तः भवति। नाम अयं बुद्धः गत्वा कस्यचित् आचार्यस्य सविधे अराडः इति कस्यचित् आचार्यस्य सविधे अध्ययनार्थं गच्छति सः तावत् स्वकीयम् उपदिशति तद् एतत् सर्वं मास्तु इति कृत्वा अनन्तरं सः तपसे गच्छति इति एवं विषयः वर्णितः यत्र सम्पूर्णः सर्गः तावत् परमब्रह्मवादिनाम् अयम् उपदेशः इति कृत्वा अध्यात्मकुशलानाम् अयम् उपदेशः इति कृत्वा सम्पूर्णः सर्गः अद्वैतवेदान्तस्य एव उपदेशं करोति। अतः बौद्धानां प्रागपि बुद्धस्य उपदेशाय अपि अद्वैतवेदान्तः आसीत् इति अनेन सुदृढं वक्तुं शक्यते। एतत् मनसि कृत्यैव अनन्तरं तावत् महेन्द्रवर्मणा मतविलासप्रहसने तावत् वेदान्तेभ्यो गृहीत्वा अर्थान् यः महाभारतादपि विप्राणां मिषतामेव कृतवान् कोशसञ्चयम् इति कृत्वा बौद्धाः एव वेदान्तिनां निकटात् सर्वं स्वीकृतवन्तः इति सः आक्षिपति। अतः कालज्ञानं विना कः पूर्वं कः परम् इति ज्ञानं विना कः प्रच्छन्नः कः कस्मात् स्वीकृतवान् इति कथनं तावत् अत्यन्तं दुःशकं भवति इति कृत्वा कालक्रमे क्रोनालजि इति अस्मिन् विषये दृष्टिः अवश्यं देया, इण्डालजि इति अस्मिन् विषयेपि अवश्यं दृष्टिः देया इति अहं प्रार्थयामि। अतः तदनुगुणं तावत् नाम ग्रन्थानाम् एवम् आचार्याणां च कालविषयेपि चर्चा भूयात्, येन प्रभावादिविषयेषु अस्माकं चर्चा तावत् सुसम्पन्ना भवति इति अहं निवेदयामि। एवञ्च बेसिक्स् नीड्स् आफ् रिसर्च् इत्यत्र तावत् मैनुस्क्रिप्टालजि, पैलियोग्राफी, इण्डालजि एवं रिसर्च् मेथडालजि इत्यादिकम् एतेषां तावत् अत्यन्तम् अपेक्षिता भवति। वस्तुतः मैनुस्क्रिप्टालजि इत्यस्य आवश्यकता अन्येष्वपि विषयेषु भवति। यः केवलं मातृकाशास्त्रम् अधीत्य मातृकाणां सम्पादनं करोति, न केवलं तस्यैव, अपि च शास्त्रे यः कर्तुम् इच्छति तस्यापि मातृकासु विद्यमानानाम् अंशानाम् अपेक्षा भवति। एकस्मिन् अक्षरे यदि दोषः स्यात् तर्हि सिद्धान्तस्यैव क्लेशः भवति। अत्र तावत् अक्षरे दोषः अस्ति इति यः जानाति, मातृकां यः जानाति स एव कर्तुं प्रभवति इति कृत्वैव कालिदासेन उक्तं भवति, लिपेर्यथावत् ग्रहणेन वाङ्मयं नदीमुखेनैव समुद्रमाविशत् इति कृत्वा वस्तुतः एवं रूपेण मातृकाशास्त्रं सर्वेषामपि शास्त्राणाम् अपेक्षितमेव शास्त्रं भवति। एवं पैलियोग्राफी नाम कथं वा अक्षराणां विकासः जातः इत्यपि अपेक्षितं भवति। एवम् इण्डोलजि मया पूर्वं यथा उक्तं भवति, अस्माकं ग्रन्थानाम् एवम् अस्माकं इतिहासस्य ज्ञानं भवति चेदेव सर्वेषामपि शास्त्राणां गवेषणधारा अत्यन्तं समीचीना भवति, अन्यथा तावत् क्लेशाय कल्पते इति। एवमेव रिसर्च् मेथडालजि इत्यादिकमपि सम्यक् दृष्ट्वा कर्तव्यम्। अस्माभिः बहु क्रियते, किन्तु तेषां प्रपञ्चनं तावत् सम्यक् न क्रियते चेत् इदं तावत् गवेषणपथं नारोहति इति कृत्वैव अस्माभिः प्रक्रिया अत्यन्तं समीचीनतया समालोडनीया इति निवेदयामि। एतेपि अंशाः पाठ्यक्रमे NEP द्वारा पाठ्यक्रमे योजनीयाः भवति। वस्तुतः पाश्चात्याः भारतीयगवेषणायाः उचितं स्थानं न प्रयच्छन्ति इत्यस्य हेतुः अयमेव। प्रक्रिया नाम विषयः गहनः गभीरः सम्यक्तया कुर्वन्ति, किन्तु तस्य प्रतिपादनं वा आहोस्वित् कालक्रमादिषु चर्चां वा न कुर्वन्ति इति हेतोः। एवमेव समाजस्य किं प्रयोजनम् इति न निर्दिशन्ति इति हेतोः पाश्चात्याः प्रायशः न गणयन्ति। अतः विद्यमानेऽपि विषये अस्माकं न्यूनता तत्र भवति इति निवेदयामि। न्यूनता इति तैः उच्यते इति न, अस्माभिरपि अनुभवितुं शक्यते, यतः वयं तावत् एतादृशविषयेषु न्यूनतां प्रदर्शयामः इति। अतः एतादृशविषयाणामपि योजनं पाठ्यक्रमे यथा भवेत् तथा कुर्वन्ति चेत् तर्हि लाभाय कल्पते। एवञ्च रिसर्च् ओरियेण्टेशन् मध्ये मेथडालजि सर्वतोपि अधिकं भवति। एवं एम्स् तस्य लक्ष्यम् उद्देश्यम् अत्यन्तं शोभनं भवेदिति। एवं तस्य एथिक्स् इति विषये नाम नैतिकता यदि मुख्या भवति चेदेव, नाम उपाध्यर्थं कर्तव्यम् इति त्यक्त्वा कश्चन विषयः प्रकाशनीयः, अनेन कश्चित् उपकृतो भवेत् इति मनसि निधाय वयं यदि कुर्मः तर्हि नैतिकता परिपालिता भवेत्, तद्वारा गवेषणस्यापि महत्त्वं वर्धते। अतः नैतिकता तावत् गवेषणस्य मूलांशभूता भवति, आत्मभूता भवति। नैतिकता भवति चेदेव अस्मिन् विषये मया उपाध्यर्थं न क्रियते, अपि च कस्यचित् उपकाराय कस्यचित् विषयस्य प्रकाशाय मया क्रियते इति भवेत्। अतः एथिक्स् मेथडालजि एतत् सर्वमपि यदि वयं पाठ्यक्रमे योजयामश्चेत् तत् पठित्वा कश्चित् कदाचित् अत्यन्तं गभीरतया कुर्यादिति कृत्वा पाठ्यक्रमे योजनीयोऽयम् अंशः निवेदयामि। एवञ्च करिकुलर् आस्पेक्ट्स् मध्ये UG लेवल् PG लेवल् कोर्स् वर्क् इत्यादिषु एतादृशप्रणाली तावत् विहिता भवति NEP द्वारा। नाम अत्र एतत् डिसिप्लिन् स्पेसिफिक् कोर् कोर्सस् एवं डिसिप्लिन् स्पेसिफिक् एलेक्टिव् कोर्सस्, जनरल् एलेक्टिव्स्, एवं तावत् एतत् एबिलिटि एन्हान्स्मेण्ट् कोर्सस् इति चतुर्धा विभज्य यद्यद् योजितं तेन साकं सर्वत्रापि गवेषणस्य बीजमपि आदावेव दातव्यम् इति अहं विनिवेदयामि। एवञ्च अपरं विनिवेदनमस्ति, मातृकासम्पादने किञ्चिदिव तत्र नियमान् यदि ईषदिव शिथिलीकुर्वन्ति चेत् महते लाभाय कल्पते। नाम वस्तुतः PhD इति उपाधये मातृकात्रयम् अत्यन्तम् अपेक्षितं भवति इति कृत्वा, नाम अत्यन्तं समीक्षात्मकसम्पादनं कर्तव्यं चेत् मातृकात्रयम् अपेक्षितम् इति कृत्वा तत्रैव यतन्ते जनाः। अतः एकमातृका ग्रन्थः यत्र भवति सः अत्यन्तम् उज्झितो भवति। अतः एकमातृका भवति चेत् समीक्षात्मकं सम्पादनं विना अध्ययने दृष्टिः भूयात् इति। यदि तत्र एवं भवति चेत् नाम मातृकात्रयमस्ति चेत् सम्पादनेपि समीक्षात्मकं भूयादिति। एवं कृत्वा यदि वयम् अग्रे गच्छामः तर्हि बहूनां विषयाणां प्रकाशः भविष्यति इति कृत्वा एवं गवेषणधारायाः मूलबीजम् अस्माकं स्नातककक्ष्यायां स्नातकोत्तरकक्ष्यायाम् एवं अग्रे कोर्स् वर्क् इति यदुच्यते सर्वत्रापि यदि तस्य प्रसक्तिः भवति चेत् तर्हि महते उपकाराय कल्पते। अस्माकं वस्तुतः कालेज् यूनिवर्सिटि इति अनयोः भेदः केवलम् उभयत्रापि पाठः एव चलति। पाठेन साकं यत्र गवेषणस्य अत्यन्तं गभीरता भवति तदेव यूनिवर्सिटि इत्युच्यते। अन्यथा को भेदः पिककाकयोः इतिवत् तत्र भेदः एव न स्यात्। अतः गवेषणायाः यदि भवन्तः तत्र तलस्पर्शिज्ञानम् इच्छन्ति चेत् आरम्भात् नाम स्नातककक्ष्यातः यदि गवेषणस्य प्राधान्यं नैतिकताम् एवं मातृकाशास्त्रादिषु तस्य आसक्तिम् उत्पादयन्ति चेत् महते उपकाराय कल्प्यते इति अहं तर्कयामि। अत एव NEP मध्ये पुनः पुनः रिसर्च् ओरियेण्टेशन् इति पदं सर्वत्रापि उपात्तं भवति। एवं तस्य प्रणाली एवं कृता भवति कोर् कोर्सस् तत्रैव इंटर्डिसिप्लिनरी एंड एलेक्टिव्स् इति नाम्ना। इंटर्डिसिप्लिनरी मध्ये डायरेक्ट्ली यद् नाम साक्षात् यत्र रेलेवेन्सी भवति साक्षात् यत्र सम्बन्धः यथा वेदान्तस्य अन्यवेदान्तद्वयं वा एतादृशरूपेण साक्षात् सम्बद्धम् एवं परम्परया सम्बद्धं यद्भवति यथा न्यायमीमांसादिशास्त्राणि एवं एलेक्टिव् मध्ये मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी रूपेण नाम यद्यद् तस्य परिकरत्वेन भवितुं प्रभवति एवं औद्योगिकञ्च यद्भवेत् उद्योगप्राप्तये ये पाठाः भवेयुः तादृशविषयाः चेतव्याः इति कृत्वा एवं काचित् प्रणाली तत्र NEP द्वारा प्रदर्शिता भवति। अत्र अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालये तावत् आचार्याणां नारायणाचार्य महाभागानां मार्गदर्शने तावत् प्रणाली समीचीनतया निर्मिता भवति। या प्रणाली पूर्वमेव उपात्ता भवति तस्य अत्यन्तं शोभनया शैल्या तावत् तस्य पुनर्निर्माणं कृत्वा यभिः प्रदर्शितं भवति। एवञ्च तत्र एक्स्ट्रा ट्रैनिङ्ग् एतद् विनापि यत्र एथिक्स् इति अस्मिन् विषये एवं मेथडालजि विषये एवं अदर् आपनेण्ट्स् इति प्रक्रियादिविषये यदि सम्यक् ज्ञानं वयं प्रापयामः तर्हि गवेषणम् अत्यन्तं शोभनया रीत्या अस्मान् मोदयेत् निवेदयामि। एवञ्च तत्र एक्स्पेक्टेड् औट्पुट् इति पश्यामश्चेत् तत्र स्टाण्डर्ड् रिसर्च् भविष्यति तद्वारा मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च् सम्भवति यद्वारा सोशियल् रेलेवेन्स् नाम समाजस्य उपयोगिता यद्वारा भवति तादृशं नाम शास्त्रेषु समाजस्य उपयोगिता का इति न प्रष्टव्यं। समाजस्य उपयोगिता सर्वेषामपि विषयाणां भवत्येव। तादृश उपयोगिता का भवति न्यूनातिन्यूनं कालविषये वा ज्ञानं प्रापयेत्। मम समाजस्य उपयोगिता नाम साक्षात् गत्वा तेषां सेवा इति नास्ति। कश्चन ग्रन्थः स्वीकृतश्चेत् अयं विषयः अत्र उक्तः अयं विषयः तत्र उक्तः इति कथनेन तस्य कालनिर्णयाय वा इतिहासविदां उपकाराय वा सङ्कल्पेत। अतः एतादृशरीत्या समाजस्य का उपयोगिता भवेत् इति प्रत्येकस्मिन्नपि विषये इति दृष्ट्वा अग्रे गच्छन्ति चेत् तर्हि महान् लाभः भवितेत्। एवं कृत्वा दत्तावकाशेभ्यो नमो वाकान्विते।
धन्यवादाः महोदय। राष्ट्रीयशिक्षानीत्यनुसारं पाठ्यक्रमाणां निर्माणं कथं करणीयं कथं कृतं च इति विषये मार्गदर्शनं शङ्करनारायणमहाभागाः प्रति डाक्टर् वत्सला H महाभागाः CDAC बेङ्गलूरुतः समागताः। किञ्चित् परिवर्तनं प्रोफेसर् कृष्णप्रपूर्णमहाभागाः अत्रैव तिरुपतौ IIT वर्तते सिविल् इञ्जिनियर् ते भवन्ति एतेपि संस्कृतानुरागिणः एवं भारते एव नास्ति अपि तु विश्वे एव एतेषां कीर्तिरस्ति तादृशाः युवविद्वांसः अभियन्तृविषये तान् सम्प्रति अनुरुन्धे एवं विश्वविद्यालयपक्षतः तेषां शब्दसुमनोभिः हार्दं स्वागतम् अपि वितनोमि वेद अर्थशास्त्र फार् सिविल् इञ्जिनियरिङ्ग् इति विषयम् उपलक्ष्य महोदयाः प्रोफेसर् कृष्णप्रपूर्णमहोदयाः मार्गदर्शनं करिष्यन्ति प्रति अहं तान् अनुरुन्धे
गुरुभ्यो परमगुरुभ्यो नमः जयति पराशरनुः देवती नो व्यास्य कलितं वातं जगत् व्यासाय भवनाश श्रीशाय गुणराशे हृद्याय शुद्धविद्याय भवाय च नमो नमः भवाय स्वामिन् रामप्रियतमः हनुमन् गुरु स्तुभ्यं भीमप्रबलतमकृष्णेष्ट भगवन् सुदृशं पूज्याय राघवेन्द्राय सत्यधर्मरताय भजतां कल्पवृक्ष आदिध्वान्तरवे सज्जनेन्दिवरेन्द्र श्रीराघवेन्द्र गुरवे so much. I cannot speak in Sanskrit, so excuse me. I did. Well, I come from the background Udupi, seat of learning. Very important. Three Matacharyas in Matha, all of them actually flourished in Karnataka. Is something that is all in South India. Although all of them have different backgrounds, the goal obviously is the ultimatum of reaching the Supreme. So as you see here, I just thought we'll also give it a acronym, which has been my pastime. I could call it a pastime, although may not be right in everything here, but here just call the title Superpower of Rigveda towards inscribing civil engineering expert system. Now CDAC is an expert system developer in the world, of course definitely in India, but they have been globally recognized. So I thought we'll call this Let Rig. You can see that Rigveda are inscribing civil engineering. So that's still Rig. I'm sure the Sanskrit scholars will endorse this, because Rig is what we call Rigveda. That is through Param, and Param was developed by you, Iraq. So they just flashed my mind yesterday evening when I was trying to prepare a presentation at 1 o'clock in the night. RIC grace, Rig, be graced through the Param. So Param is what the Supreme is all about. And this seminar is definitely a very, very important one in terms of understanding the multidisciplinarity. The professor who spoke just now, he spoke about multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary environment, intergovernmental, intercontinental, and whatnot, right? And I somehow feel we haven't tapped on this resource for a very long time. But before I even go on to this, I have to give you some background about why this popped up and how did this originate even before we started just a month ago or so. Everything goes back to the Kendra Bindu, Professor Acharya Ganapati. Yeah, so I have to invoke my son, elder boy, who studies here in Yapit, and we were just discussing one day, when yantras can do the job. We sit here, we operate through a remote control, we go and then we change the satellite, the orbits, whatnot, but mantra can do even much more powerful than what we have. So yantra and mantra is what we talk about, and I've seen this. So it's not just about learning the shastrartha yuktaha anubhava pramanam. So what I have seen is when my mother just last year, it's about 1.5 years ago, my mother went to the bathroom in the night 3 o'clock, and then she came back and then just sat near the door, and she was shouting my father, and she was sitting near on the floor, and she was turning blue. So her saturation level came down almost to 13, and that was 3:15 in the morning, and my boy was learning avamana. Mana is or just uh, suktas, right? And flow of how the prana goes into the body and outside, inside, within, without. Tadejati, tannejati. And antarbahishya tat sarvam. That is where the prana shakti is. If without prana, I think we cannot. And we woke him at 3:15. And this is just a flash of mine. And he woke up, he came just smiling, and he touched the head of my mother, forehead, and he just started swadhisthaya. That's all he said. And she got up. That was the power of mantra. And this is actually a fact, real fact, and it's my experience. And that was what I'm trying to say is, you see, the power, grace of the Lord can be so high. The same boy did not save my mother this last year October. He actually was he was very happy until 9:30, 9:45 in the morning. 10 o'clock, she sat on the dining chair. She just passed away. Huh? That was the anayasena maranam, what we say, right? And my boy was actually chanting Rigveda on top in the puja room. That is one experience. The other experience, just this year in April, my father had a heart attack, and we joined him in the hospital, and he was being put the pacemaker. He was actually advised it has to be done because his pulse rate was almost 2730. That was very, very, very. And then suddenly, what happened this is in the operation theater. My boy actually, he does puja about 2 to 3 hours meditation in the morning. He was sitting in the puja room, and I was near the operation theater all alone. My father was inside. Suddenly, the doctors come out, go in, come out. This is what cinematic, what in movies. I was asking the doctor. They said, "No, we cannot talk to you right now. You just have to wait." And my boy, who actually does not go beyond 2 hours, that day he was in the puja room and continuing with Pavamanam. And the fact of the matter is, my father had a cardiac arrest and he was completely out. The moment this boy was chanting here, the doctor came out and he said, "Suddenly, your father has got up. I don't know how it happened." Then I called my wife. She was at home, and then she said, "No, no, this boy is still not come out. Shall I call him?" I said, "No, this is the actual thing that is going on." So the Rig Veda is the one that has shown that my father was resurrected. He came back from complete cardiac arrest to back to life. This is life after life, as we call. And anyway, where did we start with this discussion? So 1.5 years ago, when I was talking to Area, he said there are so many mantras, Veda, that can be so multidisciplinary, that can exactly warn us where we are going. We have a catastrophe. If we have, example is Wayanad, very recent one that we see, disasters. Do we have any warning system in mantras? Of course there are. So when I was just saying this is the construction structures, I'll talk about those things in a few minutes. He was telling me each and every mantra for each of these fields. Fascinating. So you can imagine the power of the jnana. Jnani is there, has so much power, who can show us the superpower. So yatha deve tatha guru. We go towards the Lord through the Guru. That is cherish, and these are some of my experience. I can keep on sharing many. So I'm a professor at IIT Tirupati. Basically, do not have any call it in Kannada gandha gali, nothing about Rig Veda, but somewhere that samskara is there where I'm able to, and that there is power who is uh, controlling us. And that is what we'll be talking about, the dharana shakti and the power that is controlling us and how it is forward. I just thought we'll start with this mantra from This is from Sri Bhagavatam. Karma cha kalascha svabhavo jive anugrahata santi na santi adupeksha. So if he can ignore us, Supreme ignores us, nothing that we cannot even move. Dranamapit nachalati tena vina. Right? So even a small grass, tip of the grass, if it has to move, then Supreme that has to take care of this. This is the case. You can imagine how he is able to control the orbit, exact timing, the finiteness of the time scale, what we call the fifth or sixth or whatever dimension that we can call. Computer scientists, if we ask Professor who here from Kurnool, he'll tell you we talk about binary 1, 0, and so forth. Again, CDAC is very powerful in talking about how we use the supercomputers and digitize and so forth. So if you see here, there are at least 4 or 5 things that I thought I'll discuss. The words here, and they'll have multiple meanings, each of them, but whatever is very little that I know. We talk about the dravyam that makes up the bhuta, panchabhuta, panchatanmatra. That is efficient in the material source. So nimitta karana upadana karana, right? Please excuse me if I'm speaking something wrong. Obviously I will, because I'm not a Sanskrit scholar here, but for sure we have these two here, and that is what we make up soil or the concrete that you see here, or the roads, or the fuselage of an aircraft, etc. Required. So that's the dravyam. And karma is what we keep on doing every second. Kurvaneveha karmani. That is there in Upanishad. Without even a break, we keep on doing this karma, and that actually leads us to what we have to achieve. And that has to be on the right guru here. So that's the right choice of guru that we need. Yatha deve tata. Just spoke of academia. So we have this excellent atmosphere. We have the industry. CDAC is there. Have collaborators. That is the right collaborators. We don't go for friendship. It's the expertise that we just don't want our own friends who will not help us without contribution. We need to have a co-author, collaborator who will actually help us. Otherwise, there's no use. The thematic area, that's right. Thematic area, symbiosis, synergy between ancient Vedanta, Kavya, and then the Samyak Ganika Yantra, right? That's the Sanganika, as you call. So that's exactly what we are trying to do. That's where is this Swabhava. And then if you're doing it at the right time, I think already we have delayed by thousands of years. We haven't really talked about what we should be doing. Maybe in the modern era, maybe about 50, 60 years we have delayed. I think it's better late than never. So that's the timing, kala. Then definitely it's our swabhava. Otherwise, we would not be sitting here. Our swabhava is so powerful that we are actually talking about. Otherwise, we would not be. If you are not having an excellent swabhava, you will not be going to the temple. You will not be worshipping. You will not be doing this, that. That decides. Swabhava decides. Could be parisara prabhava, but still your swabhava is the one that controls. All these are controlled by the grace of the Lord. What is it? Continuously on this, but I think move on. So here is the civil engineering. This is a picture that talks about very basic, fundamental picture where every facet that you talk, every facet that you see, right? Go out, you see road. You go out, you have this railroad. You have the airport. You have the ports, etc., etc. Together, you see this slide simply will tell you that civil engineering is a multidisciplinary environment. Here you have water, construction, have the bridge structures, of the buildings that will be built. Then you have the soil, geotechnical engineering. Then we have the transport, because you have to transport men and goods from one place to the other, origin destination. This is what we do as civil engineers. But unfortunately, we have not really understood that there is beyond this. And that is what everyone today is talking about: the disaster management, climate change, and how we can save our planet from the disaster. And this is something that, and that is what I do. If you look at this group at IIT Tirupati. We work on materials for sustainability. That is what is the key focus of our research group. Do a lot of asset management. It's just not about building, construction, continuously keep on constructing. Yes, but are we really managing those assets? Where do we stop construction and then start looking at our 10-year-old structure or 50-year-old structures? You have to retrofit this building. How long does it take before it falls? So if you go to any sub-registrar's office for your own house need, so forth, they'll say 99 years is the life of this building, of any building. So are we really looking at perpetual 99 years? May not be. We are looking at maybe 5-10 years. But then we also work on the performance monitoring of several structures, including, but as I just mentioned, these are the 6 or 7, or maybe majorly 5 facets of civil engineering, all of them being here: structural engineering, transportation, water resource, geotechnical, environmental, multidisciplinary environment. As I rightly pointed out, this is exactly what we keep doing. Okay, we work closely with chemical engineers. We work closely with computer scientists. Without artificial intelligence, we are not able to sell so much of data. In fact, IIT Tirupati was the first one to collect almost million data points when I joined IIT Tirupati APRDC. That's the first model in the country where a state government, erstwhile, today whoever is the chief minister was the same. Then when we approached him, he gave us so much data, and I shared this with you back. First IIT or first institution in the country to work with state government. We, as rightly pointed out by the professor, we are social relevance. Are we really helping the social causes? We are just doing publication. We publish, and then we just have PhDs graduated, and then we send them off without udyog. That is what is happening today. So we actually went into this, and today chief minister is so close to us. He says, continue on with this, right? And then I think is the collaboration. I just spoke about that. Academia is there, industries, the government. With all of these, now this presentation actually brings in one more facet, that's the spiritual side, the spiritual technology, the samanvaya between spirituality and civil engineering. We just start with this, but then the other departments can continue on. Electrical engineering is there, urja, right, vidyut. That is also there. There are a lot of shlokas that you can, mantras that are there in Rig Veda that can. Again, mechanical engineering, yantra is there, then civil engineering. So you can visit our website for more about. Okay, so here is a picture, the natural disasters. You are very familiar. I don't have to explain this. The roads, where it is. We stopped building because 100 years ago, rishis and even common men used to go to Badri. They used to do that. But now they are not able to do it because there is a road. We have created our own problems. That's man-made. And for this, Acharya Ganapati Bhatt gave me this yesterday. Really fits very well. So scriptures are telling us, oh, you ignorant, you keep on doing this. Girayo patanti. Yeah. So even the mountains will start falling. That is what is happening in Uttarakhand. Very much. Very clearly we can see this. And I think we have not heeded to the warnings of the Veda or the scriptures very clearly. Move on. Then so here is the first. And there could be some mistakes. I could not, because I didn't have time yesterday. I wrote and I scanned it. I've done even better job, but so I will not read all of these, but you can go through this. The major points, as you see here, I put those in those boxes there. Other Earths, okay, and then we have this. Let Acharya explained to me yesterday. He taught me while we are. So we have these two. One is sadhana, one is the sutra. So in order to understand that, we have to be very clear about where we start constructing, who is actually controlling this. Dharana Shakti. That Mother Earth is there, that's the Mahi Prathivi. Then we have the Antariksha. That's where Ravi Prakash. And he's telling us don't do this at one point of time. And he's also telling us you have a paving season, you have a construction season. So that is why we have this Ashadha Masa where we don't do any of those, no ceremonies attached whatsoever. Those are the floods, the heavy rains, right? And if you just don't heed to these, what will happen? There will be destruction, both construction and that is what this shloka, this says very clearly. See, that is the Mata Seat. Really respect her at the same time, and you can see that in the below there, Prithvi Rasaha. So that is where all of these lie. So we need to be very careful. This one rik, see how powerful this can be, where it very clearly tell us that no, you have to stop it somewhere. Otherwise, one that is controlling us will start ignoring you. Right? I told you. Asanti yadupeksha. Start upeksha, right? That is one. Again, knowledge comes from where we start. Timing. Samaya. Kala. Right? Okay, and then we have the next here. Ekaha. Again, Ekaha is the one that is controlling us, the supreme Dharana Shakti. Is also the Sadheya, Sadhana, Dharana, and he's doing everything for us. And there are three elements very clearly. That is what is, and the one who is top of all of us, Urdhva. Right? And now, for whatever reason that we don't heed to his warnings, these three, Agni, Vayu, and Surya, they are the Swarupa of these. And these three are the ones who are actually helping us create this Dravya. Without fire, I cannot create energy. Right? And without Vayu, there is no movement. Then without Surya, there is no Prakasha. And so we need the light. Satoma, Kadgamaya, Satoma, Tamasoma, Jyotirgamaya. Right? So that is where we are talking about. And there is one very important thing here. In this next one here, Sapta Shatani Vimshat. That actually fascinated me yesterday when I was learning. It all goes back to the timing. Right? That's the 720 hours. How does that come? The 30 days multiplied by 24 hours. So we have a month time, and we have to be very careful every day. How much time do we devote for construction? How much time do we stop doing? Where all of these, this is the Prithvi Tattva, 720 hours. Again, if you go back to the finiteness of all of these, it says 31,104,000 crore years of Brahma time. Again, all of this is again coming back to the number 9. Right? If you look at Kali Yuga, which is 4,20,000 years. I'm sorry, 4,32,000 years. Then double of that is the Dwapara, 8,64. 3 times Kali Yuga, 1296. Then 1728. If you add up all of these, it will still come back to 43. Still is number 9, only 4 plus 3. Right? And that is one Mahayuga. Like that, we have 71 Mahayugas that become one Kalpa, and many other things. So that comes out to be 31,104,000 crore years. And are we really looking at all of these? We have not actually emphasized these things. So again, 12 Rashis, there are 2 Ayanas, Dakshinayana, Uttarayana. We have to be very careful. We don't do any ceremony during Dakshinayana. We are very careful about this because of this Chaturmasya that we observe during this period, during floods, Ashadha Masa, and so. Right. So we have to be very careful when we design, develop, or formulate any of these structures. What these two talk about, and so that's the universal Father who is taking care of us. Paving season again, and until yesterday, I was also not aware that there is a paving season when we construct roads, because my area is road construction. We have a paving season. We don't construct all the 12 months. We only do it 9 months. 3 months is for our retrieval and then retreat, we call, where we design only. We only design and follow. We don't construct. So there is a paving season. You go to the Western countries, that is where, no, very careful about this. They have a very small paving window. If you go to the Nordic countries such as Sweden, Finland, or even the other European countries, maybe the Canada and Russia, they have only a very small paving season. That is only 3 months. We have a 9-month period, sometimes 10. In Tirupati, we can go for 11 months. But there are a few places where we can have very little time for this, and that 720 hours. And that is exactly what Rigveda is saying. It's 1 month. So you decide which month is much more powerful than anyone. And I can tell you, average climate change that we keep on, because we do a lot of work on this climate change, climatology, modeling, predictions, we see that there is only 1 month that works. Until yesterday, I was not aware of this, but then later on, I went back and looked at our climate change models. We look at 1 month in 12 months. That is where we get that peak. We look at the normal distribution curve, right? And that is where we have, it's only, that's where 720 hours. That's all. And that goes back to that 72,000 nadis that we have in our body. Again, it's again 720 times 100. So they're all linked. Well, so the future expectations, obviously, so we want to create this link, right? Identification of the channels. Then Rigveda with civil engineering, that's where we have, so the idea is we'll develop a glossary of words, this, riks, and so forth. And they'll all be linked to many phases. I could not talk about many things because obviously we have several things that we can delve. Then we need a lot of people working on this. There are, I heard that there are more than 10,000 of at NUS. Similarly, I'm sure many other places. Go back and then we extract all of these. I think we will have the samanvaya between Veda, Vedanta, Kavya, and technology, right? And then collaboration between academia and I think the best way is to approach our scholars, students who are the wealth of this country, get their, seek their help. They'll educate us in turn. That is how it's a learn and learn situation. Then we'll come back with a disaster warning system. I think that is what the government needs today. We have to come back and say, today we can predict a disaster which will occur in the next 4 months. Accurate predictions can be done. I'm confident about this. Possible, very much possible that we'll be able to predict exactly the day when the road will fail or when the structure will fail, when there will be a disaster. And then again, joint proposals between several collaborators. There IITs are there. There are several people that can collaborate. I'll end with this. Yat Purishena Havisha Deva Yajnamatan Santo Asya Asida Ishma Idmash. Again, here also you see there is a time there. Talks about Santa Ritu, Grishma Ritu, Sharad. So all the three Ritus are they continuously you pray the Lord, but there is a break for construction. There's no break for spiritual journey, not even a second, not even a nanosecond, but there is a break. We have to give a break. Otherwise, we'll keep on building. Then what goes back with the ministry building, but also please manage the assets. Otherwise, we'll end up covering up the entire planet with floods. We'll not be here. Everything goes back, and again, you'll have to start. I don't know, we'll all come back or not. So that is another. Anyway, thank you so much. Well, I had. Later, maybe later.
Abhay Namah. I now call upon Dr. Vatsala to give a presentation.
Hello. From CDAC, we have been, my experience in CDAC is around 7. We have been working since the ISKI era. That is, we were the pioneers in bringing Indian languages into computers. So we were working information ISKI, that is Indian Standard Code for Information Interchange, wherein we had brought a parallel version for the Indian languages, which is ISKI. And then also PC ISKI was also brought in for the Swaras, which basically is seen in the Vedas. So from there, we have moved on to Unicode era, 6 to 7. We have a lot of legacy applications which are yet to be the Unicode. But whatever is feasible in doing that, let me continue with the tools enabling it. So basically, the key point is stamping the system of instruction, skill development, relational. I would here where all the technology perspective will we can in technology perspective the following system of technology. So medium of why they have brought in this national it is requirement in which the instructions will be delivered to the student. They are mostly promoting the mother tongue or the local language. So here in this area, we are working. The next slide I will be explaining. So integration aspect affecting us. One is in the digital infrastructure for good access. The second is in learning process. Is the learning. The third one is to give a forum for the students. Yes, and the they want to develop with the academic. Where we will mostly or technology. That's for points. The mandates for to signing related to wherein they have various system. Comes, small thing to do. We are today, sir, and this project share with share some them. TDAC is already having this faculty upgradation programs in technology. So wherein we can collaborate and get a tailor-made program done for the technology orientation for the children, I mean students, and plus the professors. Then comes digital preservation of text. Here actually manuscripts, we had seen a lot of manuscripts here in NSU. We have already been working in this particular and expect to improve this manuscript processing technology. So experience of stack heritage and language computing. So first one is language technology lab. We are already working in Kannada to Hindi, Hindi to Kannada, Sanskrit with Sanskrit interlingua for translations. Then manuscript editor, we have a basic manuscript editor from where you can get the images, which is digitized. Then below that, you scholars used to type, but this needs some improvement to align it to the NEP. So how do we improve this is by actually finding, there are many manuscripts which are damaged. So these automatic damage detection, correction, and 3D reconstruction is what we were proposing. We have given a proposal on this particular aspect, which will be very helpful for preserving the manuscripts. And here also we would want to bring in OCRs, not only through optical character recognition, handwritten character recognition, and also plus one of our colleagues was suggesting that why not the scholars read out that thing and get it in the text, so that correction part will be a little more easier compared to the optical character recognition. Then comes Vedic knowledge tree. Madam, yesterday she had spoken about this. We have got quite a few texts over here, but it still has to be strengthened for AI analysis and stuff. That is what we are looking forward to, get text and insights into these particular texts. And then e-Shikshak is one of the LMS systems which CDAC is having. So LMS system is a learning management system. So wherein when we were speaking about this forum for exchange of ideas and technology, this is where we could implement it. It can be like a social media network within the institution or a group of institutions, so that the ideas can be exchanged. Next comes our Taksha. In Taksha, actually, even NSU was involved. This was just a pilot project. So we had designed this particular Taksha with 4-quadrant approach. So in which we were giving the videos, demonstrations, and then we were giving FAQs and also the transcriptions. So this can be improved, and tailored made things for NEP implementation can be brought in. Then next is our Teach Yourself Sanskrit, which included digitization of Prathama Diksha of Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan. So in this particular thing, we have actually digitized Veda Vistara, Vakya Vistara, Vakya Vyavahara, Sambhashanam, and Varnamala. So this was the proper textbook format, but if you want to bring in simple standard Sanskrit, then we have to bring in Sarala Sanskritam and create such content. So these are some of our experiences, which I feel if we improve on this particular thing, we can align it to NEP 2020. So what is expected from here is, from this forum and from NSU, is that we need content for doing all these things. So digitization, manuscript repository, correction and validations are required. Then gamified immersive content creation. For that, what and all is required from a domain expert is what we expect. And domain insights for interdisciplinary research, because we cannot interpret the insights of some of, not some, all of the texts available. Then required to develop large language models. This is what we expect. And with this, I conclude my talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vatsala, for your enlightening presentation. Now I'd like to call upon Dr. Kulkarni. Sir, please come and make your presentation. Thank you.
कल्याणाद्भुतगात्राय कामितार्थप्रदायिने श्रीमद्वेंकटनाथाय श्रीनिवासाय ते नमः. So, Kalyan Shastri sir told Dr. Annara Kulkarni, I am not a doctor, I am still a patient. I am going to talk about Nyaya Shastra based logic programming and inference. So talking about Nyaya Shastra, I'm a little bit I'm very much scared because in front of big scholars like Nyaya Pandits, it is very difficult to talk about Nyaya Shastra. But I'll try to how to correlate Nyaya Shastra and the modern logic and how it can be applied to the present day mathematics and the computer science. This is my topic. So how Nyaya Shastra and modern mathematics and programming languages can be used is Nyaya Shastra can be applied for formal specification, formal modeling of the system, theorem proving, and we can also apply Nyaya Shastra for error correction using Kyativada sort of thing, and logical inference. So this logical inference applies both to the computer science and the mathematics. So basically what is logic? With reference to the computer science, logic is the study of valid reasoning. So when it comes to computer science, there are two types of logic we talk about. One is formal and the informal logic. So informal logic is basically talks about natural language, facts written in a natural language. And in informal language, we try to prove the facts using the natural languages. Whereas in case of formal language, we write the hetu or the facts in the form of prepositions or predicates and higher order logic, and try to establish the pramana and arrive at the nijanta form. So if you come to if you try to compare the Nyaya Shastra and the modern logic, this is one example. King is mortal. Here it is called as pratidya. That is what you are going to try prove with that. In the modern logic, it is called as the hypothesis. And the hetu is knowledge is every man is mortal. So this is a proposition in modern logic. So we have udarana and upanayana. So we come in case of modern logic, we have inference and hor logic. Similarly, after using the hetu and udaharana, we arrive at the nigama. So the Nyaya Shastra and modern logic are similar, you can say, and the concept of Nyaya Shastra can be applied to the computer science and mathematics for the inference and theorem proving. So we took the example of man is mortal and every man is mortal and king is man, so king is mortal. Same thing can be written in the first order logic. For all x, man of x is mortal of x, and man of x is king, so king is mortal. This is how we write it in a first order logic. Same thing can be expressed in the Nyaya Shastra in a different way, like hetu, pramana, udaharana, upanaya, and nirnaya. So in case of computer science, we try to prove the theorem using the hor logic. We try to arrive at the consequent based on the antecedents. And antecedent is nothing but the initial state of the system. Okay, here what we are going to, pratitnya is nothing but the antecedent, and consequent is nothing but the nirnaya. So in between the antecedent and consequent, we have set of instructions. The set of instructions is nothing but the rules for arriving at the consequent. This is one of the example how the whole logic works. If x equal to a, then if x is less than 0, then you negate x and you get the mod of x. This can be proved using the Hor logic, using the Hor axioms written in the right hand side. So Hor gives some axioms. Based on the axioms, we prove the theorem, or based on the antecedents, statements and consequents, we prove the facts. So when we come to modern logic, we have propositional logic, first order logic, and the higher order logic. So what is propositional logic? Propositional logic is nothing but the statements or facts which are true without any paradox. But without any paradox, the statements are written and they are called as propositions, and The syntax, semantics of propositional logics includes and, not, if then, if and only if. So if I have two propositions, I can concatenate them using the connectors like and, or, not, if then, else, like that. After propositional logic, you have the predicate logic. Why the predicate logic came into picture? So propositional logic is not expressive for some facts. For example, in the predicate logic, we have there exists and the universal quantifiers. For example, you have a set of students. For all set of students, there exists some students who use Apple phone. Okay, so you are quantifying the facts, and you are using the existential quantifiers. Some students are using the only subset of the students are using the iPhone. So in such case, we use the predicate logic. So predicate logic cannot express the temporal and path quantifiers. So what do you mean by temporal operations? So in temporal notations, a predicate logic cannot express the next state. So if I am talking, okay, in the next state, who is going to talk? That cannot be expressed. If I am in the particular state, Sarita is attending the class, and Sarita is not attending the class in the next state, or Sarita is going to attend eventually she is going to attend all the class. For all, so for that we have that temporal logic. X stands for the next. In the future, something is going to happen. We use F, and until if says until is used for if X is true, then something is going to happen till X is true. So higher order logic talk about temporal operators and quantifiers. So what is formal specification? So when you design the system, first stage is requirement SRS, preparing the system requirements specification. So when you ask the client, he gives the requirement. Those requirements are written in the natural language. So when you write the requirements in the natural language, obviously there are errors because of ambiguity. For example, M stands for manuscript is in the library, it is one proposition. S means manuscript is scanned. Okay, R means manuscript can be requested. Okay, in that case, manuscript can be requested if it is only scanned. That is one fact. It is a natural way of writing the things. Same thing can be written in the logical notations using R implies M and S. Okay, so it can issue the manuscript if it is available in the library and it is scanned. So what is the use of writing the requirements in the logical formal notations? If you write the notations in the formal way, using the propositional logic, predicate logic, or first order logic, then those requirements can be proved using the formal model. So this is one example I'm taking. So this is the traffic signal thing. So red, green, and yellow. So after red, green will come. So before green comes, it has to be yellow. So how do you write this requirement in the temporal notation? If red is in the currently if it is red, then it cannot directly go to green. So before that, yellow has to come. So that can be written in a temporal way. I have written in the down one. So the formal way of writing the requirements use the propositional logic, first order logic, and predicate logic, and the entire system, how the flowchart works, it is written in a formal model. So there are tools for writing the formal models. Some of them are Promola, or we can use new SME model checker. So the entire flowchart is written in a logical manner, and all the requirements are written in the logical notations, so that the requirements written in the logical notations can be proved against the system. So why the formal methods come into picture is, after requirement specification, we design the system. After designing the system, we implement the system. So after implementing, we come across some bugs. Okay, in case of mission critical systems, we have to prove that the design is correct. If the design is correct, then only you start implementing the system. So how do you prove that the design is correct? there comes the formal notations. So the question is how Nyaya Shastra can help in establishing the formal model. As Kalyan sir was suggesting, sir, Anunaya or the complete flowchart can be established in a formal notations using Nyaya Shastra. And requirements also, how Nyaya Shastra helps in capturing the requirements in a logical notations so that it can be proved in the system. This is one area of research I am thinking about. So these are some of the theorem provers. Like core logic, we have Pramola and spin. Pramola is a formal model, and if the flowchart is written in a for Pramola, then for checking the consistency and all those things, we can do it using the spin. So new SM is a model checker, and all your requirements are written in the computational tree and linear temporal logic. And if we have a Boolean notations, the SAT solvers are also available. Boolean satisfiability, whether it checks whether whatever we have written is in the correct or not. So we have a prologue. Long back we have worked on the prologue. All the propositions and the relation between the objects are written in a prologue program, and program will do the inference part. So this is the thing, how Nyaya Shastra helps in creating the formal model and capture the formal notations, and how Nyaya Shastra can be applied for the computer science. This is one aspect. The other aspect, how both Nyaya Shastra and computer science can be integrated, is the error analysis. So we do the statistical experiments, or in case of applied artificial intelligence, based on the training set, the model is ready and it gives the result. 4 cases may happen. The predicted value is true, and the actual value is also true. There is no error in that. The predicted value is true, but actually it is false. That is type 1 error. Similarly, the type 2 error is predicted value is false, but actually the fact is true. This is one type of error. In statistics, we call it as type 1 and type 2 errors. So how do you mitigate this different types of errors? It is applicable for statistics also, mathematics also, and in the artificial intelligence also. So when our model learns some certain things, errors may happen. So how do you correct? So Nyaya Shastra gives some insights into how to correct the system in Kyativada. So I am not an expert of Kyativada, but I know that Kyativada discuss about the error analysis. So I am just correlating the fact. So these are some of the examples. In the first example, the machine is trying to detect the digits by OCR. So 7 is misinterpreted as 1, 5 may be misinterpreted by the machine as 8. Is it an illusion, or which it comes under which category of Nyaya Shastra? That is one thing. And in the second example, Newton gave something like Hyderabad gave and Akbar Ninda. So always vibhaktis are written with the nouns. But in the modern text, what is happening is whenever the halant comes, they give the space and then write the case markers. This is the right way of writing the text. The case markers are separated from the noun. Hence, you feed such a corpus to the machine. Machine will create the illusion that this is the way it should be. It is correct and I am learning in this way. It is wrong actually. This also comes under one of the categories of Kyativada. So you fed wrong thing, and it is the illusion is basically created that this is the grammar of Kannada. In the first one also some illusion is there. And the third type is overfitting. Overfitting is nothing but when we train the model performs well for the training data set, but if you give the new data set, it will not perform well. So this is one type of illusion. So it is just like with a small knowledge, behaving like a pandit for some set of people, and if I give the new set, it will fail. This is one type of illusion. So how these types of errors in the AI systems can be corrected? Using Kyativada, talks about Asat Kyati, Anyata Kyati, Akhyati, Viparita Kyati. Maybe Viparita Kyati may be returned to the it can be overfitting problem. So we can use, I think, Kyativada for error analysis. That is what my feeling is. So in the conclusion, I would like to tell that interdisciplinary research of Nyaya Shastra and its application to the computer science with reference to the formal models. So how Nyaya Shastra can be applied for the computer science for theorem proving, creating the formal model using the Nyaya system, and how the formal specifications or the requirements or the facts or the hetus of the system can be captured in the using the Nyaya Shastra system. This is one thing. And developing tools for inference. As I was telling, there are modern tools like NewSME or Coq theorem prover, or we have a Spin and Pramola. Can we develop inferencing engine for arriving at the consequent based on the antecedents based on the Nyaya rules? The third one is error analysis. So we have type 1 and type 2 errors. So errors may happen both in AI and computer programs. How Kyativada can be used or any other insights from the Nyaya Shastra can be used to correct the errors in the computer science and mathematics. And thing is how Nyaya Shastra can be applied to for applied AI/ML. So now currently the people talk about LSTM, long-term short-term memory. So that computer tries to learn from the beginning and from the end, and there is a feed forward gate and forget gate. So for which part of the sentence should be given importance for learning in case of long-term, short-term memory? So Nyaya Shastra can give some of the insights of what to be studied and what not to be studied to arrive at the correct inference. These are some of the facts how we can to correlate Nyaya Shastra and computer science and mathematics. And with this, I'll conclude. Anything, any questions, something? Sir.
Thank you, Kulkarni sir, for your enlightening presentation. May I now call upon Professor Krishna Prapurna Jyoti to please come, and I request Professor Ganapati Bhattagaru to felicitate our speaker today. Now we'll be having Dr. Sudarshan ji, who will be joining us online. This will be the last session of today's this session's talk. We'll break for lunch and then we'll meet post lunch. So we'll wait for Dr. Sudarshan ji to join us online, and we'll listen to his talk. Thank you.
Hear anything from your side. In that case, it will be one way. Okay, so let me start. First of all, Namo Namaha. Thank you very much for having us on stage in a kind of rescheduled timeline. ancient wisdom can help us. Yeah, now we can hear you. Maybe you can unmute it to avoid hiccup. Yeah, now it is working. Thank you. So in the end, we can unmute for question answers. So next slide, please. So at the outset, artificial intelligence is now taking everyone by storm, and it is taking new dimensions, solving issues that were not earlier thought. Next slide, please. So at the outset, if you look at the evolution of artificial intelligence, truly speaking, by definition, since we are talking about a systematic way of doing things, if you look at the ancient days, computation is something that is related to our cognitive ability and mental abilities. That is what was called intelligence. And in view of that, the first time other than a human being or human brain did a calculation, that was on record. We are aware of various machines that are even functioning today in many places. But since we do not have a origin and evidence, we are constrained to go with where evidence has started being proven. So the first documented reproducible thing happened in 1642, when the simple calculating machines was demonstrated by, I think, Charles Babbage. So we can say that that is when AI started. To be appropriate and correct, we do not have acceptable evidence today to show that our machines, for example, the systems that are allowing certain water to flow in a particular way, the way certain calculations were made for various purposes, which are currently wonders or archaeological items for study. Even the calculations that allowed in such a way to construct certain buildings, architectures, they are not documented, repeatable, so we are stuck there. So we'll start with 1642, and then after that there was a long, hundreds of years before the actual electronic things came. In 1800s and 1950s is when the digital computer fundamentals came, because that is when Alan Turing defined what is a computer. I think we also heard from Avanalu Garu in the last talk, who mentioned about it, what is Alan Turing, how he defined a computer versus any electronic gadget. And then it moved on further. The real big demonstration happened in 1997, when the Deep Blue beat the world champion chess. So we thought now computers can beat human beings where thinking is involved. But let us accept the fact that this is based on basically calculations, and this is speed of calculation and memory, all the past moves and permutation combinations. To that extent, that was demonstrated, and it was performing better than the world champion at that time. After that, based on this, a lot of things, Siri, Alexa, Google Now, and things like that got demonstrated in 2010-11 time frame, and now it has become commonplace. The real thing that we are talking today is the Gen AI, ChatGPT being the best example of Gen AI. Today we are all talking about it. Now can computers overtake us? That is the demonstration and discussion going on. Next slide, please. So why this Gen AI or generative AI is creating such an interest and such a unique, what should I say, trigger point, expecting the humanity and the entire technology world to change? The answer lies in the current slide that is in front of you. If you look at what is artificial intelligence, anything that was statistics based, whether it is standard deviation, interpolation, extrapolation, they were all statistical machine learning. It is possible. In a way, they are all curve fitting. And then it became a neural network, then deep learning, and so on. So up to that, on the right side, if you see, I have put a discriminative technique which it does classification, where I have a number of images. Yesterday it was alluded to during the talk by, I think, registrar madam also, who said a plant was seen, photo was updated, immediately Google and give the output. Because you give an image, it is able to classify and correctly identify, able to discriminate among various choices. As you know, this is what kind of plant and specific name and so on. And if you look at it, that is what was up to deep learning. But the Gen AI created a new paradigm. If you look at it, that is where you say dog, it generates an image of dog on its own. It is not classifying something that is given. It is generating something of its own. So the creativity, so-called, based on certain characteristics, that is what has created the hype and probably partial reality. Next slide, please. So that is why Gen AI is something for us to seriously consider, since in this symbiosis we want to take from where we are today. And when you look at it, the Gen AI can take inputs. Yesterday, Sarita madam talked about multimodal systems. So the data can be any form: text, image, speech, structural data, signals, you name it. Anything that can be gathered is a data input side. Then there are two ways. You can do pre-trained models. That is what we say, something has come through hereditary or, through our ancestors. You can say our genes or cells are pre-trained to handle certain things. That is what is pre-trained ones. Then fine-tuning happens based on the real data. So we continuously learn as things move, we adopt. That is the adaptation part. And what can it do based on these activities? It can do question answering, sentiment analysis, extract information. It can generate contents, object recognition. It can follow certain instructions, master-slave kind of thing. And that kind of things are possible. And many of the things that we are looking at it when we discussed the knowledge discovery yesterday. And we want to take it one step further, because other than discovery, what else can be? Once discovered, it has to put to use. So that is what we have to go further. Maybe that is the point to look at it. Next slide, please. So for that, what kind of applications that can happen? There, they can start from simple advisory role. Just given numbers, it can simply give, for example, finance, similarly tour planning and things like that we can do. Assistive, then cooperative, augmentative. So up to that, probably it is already demonstrated. But the next two are currently core research and development topics. One is autonomous and digitally autonomous, which means on the cyber world, on an online world, it can do everything on its own without human intervention. The highest level will be physically autonomous. That means a robot can think on its own, decide on its own, they can repair everything on their own. That is going to change. The physical autonomous is where we are going to say that they are going to compete with humans, if it happens really. But that is a big question mark. But up to 5 in the list of type of activities it can do, from advisory to digitally autonomous, seem to be possible. So we will focus on this digitally autonomous thing, which is what we are looking at it when we are able to do our own logical compilers, extract and reconstruct the past glories, and project where we will go based on this. Those kind of things are possible. Physically autonomous probably still is a much more nascent topic and not fully explored. The feasibility is still not proven. Whereas digitally autonomous is the hot cake. People think it is possible, and lot of initial results are there to encourage that. Next slide, please. So if you really look at it, just a picture has been done. In fact, there is no such a person. So you clicked on 2 of them. That's fine. So the further one, tomorrow you say Ramayana, it will generate the Ramayana movie by itself. So it is completely, next slide only you can do, no problem. So if you really look at it, then we don't have to make movies. You give the ancient text, it will generate the 3D part. And then it can also show sentiments and realize what humans have, the feelings. You have beautiful eyes, it is able to do. Okay. but where it can also cause confusion. This is where we are looking at it. Next slide, please. Yeah. So if you look at a CT scan, coming to the core topic, where what we can achieve. If there is a CT scan, the original CT scan looks correct. The person is a perfectly healthy individual. But if we can create some data disturbance, because that is where the theory of error comes into picture. The moment something is introduced into that, a noise, then we can call it a poisoned CT scan. So the analysts or doctors will say that person is suffering from TB. So it can be a apt case of medico-legal cybercrime and so on. But the fact is, yes, data can be mildly corrupted. The entire system can go from good to bad without anybody's knowledge. That is the challenge we are looking at it. So having said the good part up to screenplay, sentiment and all, we also are showing one example of where it can go wrong. So with that, I'll just move on to the next slide, where, how do we model a AI system? Because of the time paucity, I'll be only touching key points. So if you look at it, modeling is done one way, which is purely based on what is understood. Physics-based modeling, chemical, biological, mathematical, and so on. And then the other one that is currently popular is data-driven. They are supervised and annotated, or it can be based on raw data. As the data comes, model is generated. Nobody trains it. There are synthetic data. I create, my own data set, artificial data set, and like the person who was created in the picture that was shown earlier. Or it can be assisted. Raw data comes, it decides, somebody manually gives course correction, and it improves by itself. That is data-driven. So both models have their own plus and minus. But ideally, if you really look at it, the limitations can be overcome by only through combination of both. So that will allow us to for day-to-day. The next slide talks about how should we model. Ideally, the theoretical model should give the fundamental concept, and then the data-driven model can take care of. For example, if you look at any wall or anything, there is an aging effect, which is difficult to understand. We call it withering due to weather in case of some building. How do you model that? Because I can model, let us say a house is nicely painted, and the paint will fade over a period, and you will assume certain environmental conditions for fading. But the actual degradation in the field will be different from what is theoretically told. So the real fading versus the predicted fading, there will be a difference. So to produce that, we need a data-driven approach. So while theoretical model exists, this data has to be continuously fed so that the course correction can happen, fine-tuning can happen. That is what is a hybrid model for AI. Ultimately, probably that is what we will need. Why hybrid model is very good for humans also is because the fundamentals that can be repeated, that bulwark, if you take in our case, a grantha, manuscript that we want to make it online, it is going to be very different because you will scan, do everything. Today, most of the time goes in, taking the manuscript, the palm leaf, cleaning it, and then scanning it, digitizing it. It's a huge task. That takes maybe 50 to 60% of the scholar's time. So they start actually working on that. So those kind of theoretical aspects, well-driven process can be made online. It can be completely digitized. But after it does the recognition of the characters, figures, and whatever intelligence it is in the palm leaf, that can be data-driven. The human expert can annotate, correct it, supervise it. Then we work on only making it perfect, the final touches to make it usable for actual research. That kind of hybrid modeling becomes really useful, and because there is always paucity of experts, and Nipunatvam is very difficult to get, and Pandityam also very difficult to get. So that these can come from base models, and real experts and pandits are available only to correct it, make it perfect. That is what the modeling approach should be. Then the next slide, please, just only the next slide. So here, if you look at AI, if you do all that, we get a AI model. But can AI model be used? There are 4 major criteria that one has to look at it. Next slide, please. Yeah, just keep it here. So the 4 things, there are many more, but I'm just highlighting 4 of them because we have the concept of 4 padas to make it one. So I thought I'll make it simple. The first and foremost is bias of the data. So when the data comes, type of data comes, we already know all the text to speech, they are mostly Western accents. It is not uniformly adopted because that is how the data bias in training, what data samples we give. That is one of the biggest challenges in any AI system. The second biggest challenge is what is called the majority logic. When we say majority logic, data where it is majority becomes truth. For example, in real life, the facts are many, but they are specific to the time, location, and things like that. Truth is only one, ultimate truth. So when we talk of truth, majority logic will fail, because if everybody observes sun moving, rising in the east every day, then we should talk about earth-centric, universe. But the fact is, earth is also moving, and we are part of solar system. For us, earth is, sun-centric, but sun itself is not central. It is part of a Milky Way galaxy. So those kind of ultimate truths, hierarchical, global truths, are not taken care in any AI system, because the data doesn't provide those inputs. So the majority logic can give you local intelligence, local clarity, but it may not be the ultimate truth. So the AI system which are seemingly correct from observations, they are not actually based on truth or tattvas. This is another major issue. Then the reinforcement is basically unconditional. So if somebody gives wrong data, then the unconditional reinforcement keeps growing. Reinforcement based on the data volume. That is a challenge. So what should be reinforced, what should not be reinforced, or that balancing does not happen in AI models. And then if you look at it, they all suffer from, because of the data majority logic, what is called as Simpson paradox. For majority of you will know it, but for the sake of discussion, completion and assuming, we'll have people who may not be aware, I'll just say what is Simpson paradox. In a Simpson paradox is like this: when you change the stratification or layering of or partitioning of the data, what is a correct answer becomes a wrong answer, and vice versa. A simple example I can give is, for example, people may say that maybe if you take our Jyotira Shastra, generally don't do certain things in Rahu Kala. Okay. And then, we agree. It is true in a common sense for majority people. But there are certain people for whom Rahu Kala is the most auspicious time, everything will win. Similarly, number, maybe it's a good number, bad number. It's all depending on so many other criteria. And maybe if I want to take a medical example, let's say there is a place where they say this hospital is very good, where you do heart surgery, bypass surgery, let's say, which is common nowadays. They say 90%, 95% success rate is there in hospital X. Okay, out of 100, 95 are successfully completed. That is what the data is telling. And there is another hospital where only 25% success rate is there. So if you simply look at it, people will choose 95% success rate. But then if you go do fine tuning, it may turn out that the 95%, 25% based on the total population of patients treated. So the place where 95% success rate is there is a 99% failure when the surgery is performed on a child which is 0 to 180 days old. Basically, newborn child or neonatal care kind of thing. There, if this hospital does, majority surgeries are failure. Whereas in the other hospital, their neonatal surgery success rate is 90%. And their experts are like that. So for others, they are not the experts, but people come treat, so their success rate is not that high. But if I have a baby to take care, I will rather should go to the hospital which is seemingly less success rate than the one that is fully highly successful. This is called the Simpson paradox, because if you stratify and put a layered condition, you will realize that truth becomes false, false becomes truth in terms of factual. So AI suffers from Simpson paradox. So the answers has to be taken with a pinch of salt, or we should know under what assumptions this outcome of the AI system is right or wrong, acceptable or not acceptable. That is, these are some of the key limitations of AI. Let's go to the next slide. So now I feel we should replace AI with AI. What is AI? Ancient intuition. This is the thing I think we should look at it. So we should also build AI systems that should be based on not data driven alone. They should be intuition based. Now this is where all of you from NSU and the experts that who are there, you should support the new system or new generation to evolve. So here the first and biggest thing is coding and decoding. If you take in AI systems, coding is easy nowadays. You ask for any code, it is available online, you can just use, understand also probably. But once the system is in place, decoding or given a working system, understanding how it was coded, very difficult. So that's why we are talking about understandable AI, ethical AI, so many questions are coming. So the decoding is very difficult, but ancient intuition is very different. There, whenever we study anything, we have, doing it, that Shalaka exams and all, we do left to right, right to left, and random places. So in any direction you check, it is covered in all dimensions. So the decoding part, as much as coding, has to be taken care when we go into the new system of AI. The second one is the system should be able to keep track of universal truth or tattvams. So the tattvam, for example, we just for discussion sake, there may be agreement, disagreement. We are not disputing that. There is a saying that soul is immortal. But then we say birth and death is daily routine. Nobody can escape. So soul versus birth and death, the universal truth. Because if only observe, first of all, soul itself is not observed. We only observe a manifestation in a particular body. Then all the data will talk about birth and death. Then how will you ever find the universal truth? Soul is immortal. So that is there in some of our ancient texts. How they arrived it, if we can bring that aspect, that what we say on a daily life is not the ultimate end. That is the kind of thing, how do we do it? Then our ancient intuition is actually consistent. Whatever philosophy you take, whether it is Nyaya, Vaisesika, Yoga, everything, they are consistent from everything, from the representation of theory, representation of the world, to salvation, moksha, everything is consistent. There is no inconsistency in the explanation. For example, in physics, if you take, Newton is able to explain using particle theory, photons, how light travels in lines, straight lines. Whereas we also have a wave theory, it clearly tells, no, light travels only as waves. It is very clearly mentioned. But then there is also a duality theory, de Broglie's theory of duality. But for is explained, they are able to explain certain aspects very clearly. We also know what cannot be explained by that theory. But what is explained is consistent. That is the reason yesterday we again saw Bhatgaru mentioned about large number of knowledge bases, Panini grammar to other grammars. Panini probably is able to do 99% explanation, but that 1% inconsistency somebody else is able to explain. So our ancient intuition is all about whatever you explain should be consistent, and we should also know where it is not able to solve. That also should be clear. That way we get the universal set, and we know where we are not knowledgeable. So knowing what we don't know or what cannot be explained is very, very important. Then we also have, for example, contextual things. While consistent, it is contextual. So, in this earth, so birth and death and the cycle is contextual. When the pralaya and all happens, or when you go to the next stage of the yuga, then the context changes. So what is true today is not holding good. We call it Shruti and Smriti and so on. So how that concept gets added to the new AI model. These are the research challenges which really requires a symbiosis between both the institutes and the people working here. So I'll go to my last slide, just to know a few points to consider. With that, I will pass and request any questions or anything to be taken up. Last slide, please. Yeah, I can see it online. Right. So here only 3 points I have mentioned. First of all, we should come up with what is intuition, so that this is going to replace the data-driven approach for the AI, or it can complement the data-driven. That is something to work out. But first of all, what is intuition from a computational point of view? That is something we do not know. That is from CDAC perspective or my perspective as an individual. Maybe CDAC itself, there are experts who may be able to answer. Then how do you choose context? For example, when you do justice, which justice system to apply to agree to a result? Does Vidra Nidhi apply for everything, or do you need to go for some other Nidhi? That is what we have to see. So, which Niti Shastra to apply, or which rules set to be applied for a given problem? Even we may choose between Nyaya, Vaisesika, or Sankhya, or a combination of that to achieve some results. So the identifying the right context and the right supporting structure is very important. Then how do we encode ethics, the dharma, into the system, into the AI system, so that we can trust on it and we know that it will not cross the ethical boundaries. These are some of the, I think, I thought very high level challenges. Of course, we can identify smaller pieces that we can choose, start with, and then we can solve in, baby steps, or sopananani can be identified, and we can take it as research projects. But I thought at a high level, these are the things. If we solve all that, probably we are talking about a new AI paradigm, which is amazing and very different. So this is what I wanted to present. So with that, I'll pause and thank you all of you for pausing your lunch and listening to with rapt attention. Dhanyosmi. Any questions and any points, I'm grateful, and either I'll answer or I'll add it to my list of questions that I need to get answer to. That is what I will say. Thank you so much.
धन्यवादाः महोदय. धन्यवादाः महोदय.
Hello, any questions or anything, or no questions?
Are you able to hear? Are you able to hear? Hello? One minute.
Hello.
Can you unmute? Yeah. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I am not able to hear you. For some time the mic was unmuted.
Hello?
There was echo, but I could hear
Hello,
that
sir.
thing. Yeah, now looks like I can hear you.
धन्यवादः महोदय.